I'm at Conway Lumber in Northwest Connecticut this morning, and this is actually a lumber yard that I come to and shop at often. Now when I come, I'm often looking for rift-sawn cherry. It's something that I use to make my furniture because I like the clean lines. It doesn't interfere with the modern aesthetic that I favor. Now when you come here, or to any lumber yard, you're not going to find a big stack of rift-sawn cherry. That's what I'm going to talk about today. What I do, how I read a stack of lumber so I can quickly focus in on the few boards that I think will really work for me. Now the first thing that I look at is the end grain. So let's take a look at some of these boards and I'll tell you what I'm reading. This top one has a fairly wide section of rift-sawn material, but it also has some sap, and I don't work with sap. Over here, these grain lines on the second board, they're a little too flat, and that's going to be flat sawn material. Down here, again, it's kind of flat, but it's nice and wide, and it's, you know, I bet that's probably going to be a nice rift sawn section there. It looks pretty good, and I could use that for cabinet sides or something. That's a board I'd want to look at. This next board down looks really good for the kind of stuff that I like. This material is almost perfectly 45 degrees, the grain here. And it's about 5 inches, 5.5 inches wide. That's a nice width of board. So I'd look at that one too. And maybe this one down here, again, the grain's running through nice at a 45 degree angle roughly. And that's one I'd want to look at too. Now I need to sort through the stack. Fortunately, I brought a helper and he's going to help me pick up the boards and look at them. So let's move them over here, Ben. Again, not that one. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. Sometimes you find little surprises. That's a nice board. This was a board that I wanted to see. Now on a stack this size, it wouldn't be uncommon for me to want to see maybe 10 or 15, even 20 of the boards. But I would know ahead of time which ones I wanted to see because I would look at that end grain. Now as I uncovered this, my suspicions were right. There's a lot of rift-sawn material running down one edge of the board. And even though there's some sap here, I still have what looks to be about 6 inches of rift-sawn material. And that's a good amount. You can make quite a bit with that without having to edge glue it, like a small wall cabinet. But this is a nice board, and it's one that I would certainly hold aside to look at. Now, as you're searching through a stack, you got to keep your eyes open. Because here's another board that I came across. It was actually shorter than the rest of them, so I couldn't see the end grain. But check this out. It's got fantastically tight, straight, rift-sawn material and very little pith in the middle. This is a really nice board. Not only does it have that nice, tight, straight grain, it also has these wonderful little pitch pockets. And these are nice on cherry because it breaks up the uniformity of the color and adds a little bit of character, a little bit of unusualness to your furniture. So that's a piece that I would also put aside and probably buy. This board also illustrates another point really well. Take a look at its end grain. Out here on the edges, these grain lines are really tight together. And if they're tight together on the end grain, they're also going to be tight together on the face grain. So you can learn a lot about what the face grain will look like by looking at the end grain. Take a look at how tight or how small the radius of this flat sawn section grain lines are. That means you're going to have a nice tight cathedral up top instead of a big watery spill of cathedral. This board was one of the ones I wanted to look at, and it turns out that the end grain was a little misleading because there's a really big section of flat sawn material here in the middle and not much in terms of rift sawn. And what is rift sawn, the grain lines are kind of wide, what I call weedy, and I probably would not want to buy that board. It's rare that you walk into a lumber yard and find boards stacked like this. It's one species, one stack, and also they're face plane, so it's really easy to read them. More often you're going to find them like this. They're racked up, multiple species, and it's all rough cut. When I come across this situation, one of the things I look at is the edge grain. By looking at the edge grain, I'll know whether or not a board is figured. Take a look at these maple boards back here. This board and this board are both figured. How do I know that? Well, take a look. The grain runs in opposite directions, right here, here, and here. And it's actually a different color because the light is reflecting off it differently than it does where the grain is running in that direction. When you have grain running in two directions like that, you've got a figured board. So this is figured and that one's figured. Personally, I'd avoid them. There's no doubt that going into the lumber yard the first few times can be intimidating. But if you learn to read the end grain and the edge grain like I've shown, it'll speed up the process and make you more confident. And that'll mean that buying your lumber will go more smoothly. And you know what? If you're not sure about something, ask. The folks there are there to help you, and I'm sure they'll be glad to do it.